Welcome to today's news on Vanguard Live. My name is Dablola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'll be starting with the front page of Vanguard newspaper and the dailies. Vanguard is leading with 2027 presidency. Zoni considers rumpus, intensifies move to woo Jonathan. Ex-president still consulting, this according to sources. PDP zoning decisions can't stand, as according to Olawepo Ashim. Zoning presidency to South not to glorify Wiki, that's coming from PDP. It's sacrifice for unity, Bala Mohammed says. You can see that story on page 5. There's a photo story here showing that Tinubu as he receives NGX delegation in Brazil. On page 8, 762 Nigerians killed by kidnappers in 1 year. That's according to reports. Presidency, NSA, police headquarters, NCTC keep mum. Voter apathy aids bad leaders. Christian Association of Nigeria warns Nigerians. I await full briefing on Abuja Kaduna train disaster. That's coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. 2027, our presidential ticket open despite endorsing Tinubu. That's coming from APC. And on sport, page 31, 20 to 26 World Cup qualifier. Super Eagles will prove doubters wrong. That's according to the coach. Above the banner, page 19, capital market surge proves investors' confidence in Nigeria's reform. That's coming from President Tinubu. Jonathan slams defections, seek electoral reforms. Federal government ASUU meets today, allows a lead push to resolve issues. Uzodinma raises minimum wage to 104,000 naira. Imo workers jubilate. You can see that story on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Away from that, we move to the Punch. The Punch leading story says, strike threat at ASUU VCs decry professors of 525,000 naira monthly pay. Dons insist on salary review as senior lecturers earn 386,000 naira. Education, labor ministers meet today. You can see that story on page 2. On page 11, jailed monarch Oshun to obtain United States court judgment. Lagos man killed in fight, suspect arrested. You can see that on page 5 and above. On the page 17, federal government nets 393 billion naira tax from Dangote, 9 others. Lastly, on the Punch newspaper, Jonathan demands credible INEC chair, decries defections. You can see that on page 7. Now let's move to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian major headline says corrections and penal reforms. Our warning funding legal aid keep the 3,460 pre-trial inmates in jail. You can see that on page 6. Igbo leaders demand binding MOU for 2027 support as ABGA backs Tinubu. Ganduje faces fresh probe over alleged sale of public property. Oshun at 34. Adeleke calls the administration eye once against the dirty politics. You can see that story on news page 5. And top banner, Ondo joint state banning graduation ceremonies in nursery, junior secondary schools. Lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, allows our moves to resolve ASUU crisis as federal governments meet union today. That story can be seen on page 3. And lastly, the nation's major headline says 2027, why Jonathan won't run. Ex-president will allow disruption of South solidarity. You can see that on page 2. Emerging economics models our goal. President assures Nigerians. Police to arrange for false publication and forgery, September 15. Top banner left, we have federal government ASUU talks raise trust hope. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, other than 4,000 naira minimum wage excites emo workers. You can see that story on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. That's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Some leaders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, are holding high-level consultations to get former President Goodluck Jonathan to run on the party's ticket for the 2027 presidential race. Vanguard has gathered. This came on the day presidential aspirant Dr. Gbenga declared that the party's zoning of its 2027 presidential ticket to the South will not stand, insisting that the final decision lies with the National Convention and not the National Executive Committee (NEC). However, the party's leadership has dismissed claims that the decision to zone its presidential ticket to the south was aimed at glorifying the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Yesom Wike, stressing that the move was taken to strengthen the party and ensure stability. On Monday, the PDP zoned its presidential ticket to the south at the end of its 102nd NEC meeting in Abuja. The decision has since generated mixed reactions from some northern groups which have opposed the zoning arrangement. You can get more of the story on our website. Now let's talk about ASUU and its strike warnings. Now, following the conclusion of its national protest on Tuesday, members of the Academic Staff Union of universities are set to hold congresses to decide their next line of action. This comes as the federal government meets today to address long-standing agitations over the implementation of the renegotiated 2009 FGN ASU agreement, which triggered nationwide protests across universities on Tuesday. Earlier this year, the President Bola Tinubu administration released 50 billion naira to set to end academic allowances owed to universities, lecturers, and staff. However, ASU has consistently demanded clear commitment on improved salaries, conditions of service, university funding, autonomy, and a review of laws governing the National Universities Commission and the Joint Administration and Matriculation Board. Now, there are more things that the Minister of Education said, as Dr. Tunji Alausa, and you can always get that inside the Vanguard newspaper and also on the dailies. Now, let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. this morning. And the first person speaking today is Mr. Mr. says, look, I just told you I'm broke, but you keep harping that weekend is here. What's special about the weekend anyway? Mrs. replied, a weekend without money is a weekend. Just imagine the play of words, weekend. But trust Mr. and Mrs. to just put a smile on your face. And the weekend is really it. So I'm sure people are just keeping their money, but you also have to, work around it according to your budget because the economy is not smiling. Well, this is what we have to draw the curtain today. My name is Dablola Ogunshaki. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website, www.vanguardngr.com. Have a lovely Thursday.